Hello everybody, I am Manuel, I am AUSN, Professor of Bioethics of Displacement, and I want to present you this set of ideas that came to my mind when my head was literally in the clouds. Let's start. The who in the worldview of nature. It produces a spark. The report for the UNESCO, presented by Justin Ray, Celia Torheim, Amar Bayas Galan, Dor Jeren, and Darren Meiser, two of them here with us, produced a spark that ignited this presentation with the question: there is a universal ethical value for the environment? Not any value of it. You can say lovely puppies and nothing similar. No. Some conditions must to be fulfilled. Universal importance. For example, freedom for torture. Universally desirable. For example, right to life. This value must be also an intrinsic part of a universal system of values. For example, a fair trial right. Some ethical concerns today, like the Anthropocene, are greater than any single discipline we are using to assess it. More even, today, are greater than our scientific discoveries rate. So, who is to answer before those ethical dilemmas? Let's ask for a little help from our friends. Who is, in your opinion, to answer? Any idea?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, who is to answer before the ethical dilemmas derived from the discerning of a universal value for environment? Who is to discover it? Who is to research it? Who are the more ready people? Who you choose?
You.
Thank you.
I think
No way, but
everyone has the right to answer the ethical dilemma. Every person has the right to answer the ethical dilemmas.
yes, but it's not only every person. It's a fair weight of every opinion, of every view, because everybody can say her word, but it is not the same that we heard. For this reason, I have used this figure retrieved from an ontology of climate change, integral pluralism and the enactment of environmental phenomena by Esbjørn Hargens, made more about a decade ago. And in the figure, we will center in the epistemological pluralism. That is the who. It's not about a rock band, actually. In this case, it's a global climate change. Today we'll talk about many other trendy topics like Chulusen and any other exotic way to say how bad we are squeezing the planet Earth. Are we aiming to find the who? Yes, somewhat. Yes, but the chance to find the whole who won't last forever. Depending on our proficiency of our commitment, we will unlock a dystopic ending or a not satisfactory one. The time over. In the figure you can see how different human sets of values are leading to different different expressions of the human nature. In this case, the figures came from Sustainability, the Search for the Integral Worldview by Van Hedmond and De Vries. It is very interesting because it's not a single figure, it is a series of figures. In this case, we can see how the same template used before now show us the different elements, the formations of the human culture and even the human nature itself. I don't agree with the way everything fits in this figure, but I think that the effort is outstanding and should be shared. It is, for me, it is the most interesting of the three figures. For this reason, is in the end, and is in the end of the story, in the same way that Fukuyama and others talked about it. The ending of the history is around populism, around financial sector, around the financialization of the world. That maybe started by some kind of romantic Rousseauian antiquity that has derived in the world of impunity in many crimes committed at plain sight that we can see, and that is it is a sobering thought considering how much we have improved in some things like vaccine, reduction of poverty, reduction of hunger. Well, it should be expected more when it comes to this kind of question that affect the whole planet. And the end of the story by Edmond and De Vries don't end actually in a financial implosion that sent us to the, well, I don't know, to the Middle Age. No, in their views, it like a return to a subjective, idealist, romantic, and I turn to the first figure, spirituality, art, emotions. It is, according to the author, the future. In this case, I think that this is not a sequel, it's a sequel, it's an spiral. And the sex, the spiritism, the ontogenic religions, in this case, would be the city makers, the new bodies. The gods will have been body creators. In this case, they will be replaced by Cisco, Oracle, the gods that are behind the game board where the future of Earth will be decided, that is in the big cities. It's another lost. Sustainability is lost. It's lost as soon as societal value orientations become too much one-sided and lose mutual cohesion. It affects both the human rights and the planet ones. One-sidedness is a universal axis around environment. You can have a line that is the one-sidedness, where every culture can have a point, can align with. Is there any appealing value for the two ends of the rope? The one-sidedness, the global one-sidedness of the West, and the one-sidedness relativist of the East, when it comes to nature values. Yes, I think that there are two. No, the first is self-determination. Everybody wants a sovereign core where an individual, group or institution is the master of the tasks that are casted each upon. A place where nobody says what you are, but you only say what you are. Everybody wants it, and you want in your private life. If you direct an institution, you want it for your institution. If you represent a country, you want self-determination for your country. It's natural. And the two is charisma. It's hard to describe. It's between abstract and esoteric, the charisma. But implies that current rules blend towards you. The board game, it leans in your favor when you have charisma. Does it sound familiar to you? Charisma, at least la fixation with charisma, the putting charisma in an altar, and a renewed view of self-determination are the bread and butter of postmodernity. You can find it in the populists, you can find it in the sacred book, you can find it everywhere. And you go to the street, and even the marketing in the bus stop shows people with charisma. Choose your friends for loyalty. There is no circular balance in university. We need for finding universal ethical values streamlined with a broad spirit that is not destroying the options in our future with the decisions of today. We are living through uncertainties until reaching a final impossibility. I mean, the center of the spiral that I have talked about before. The sins, in this case, cannot be reduced, excused, going worse forever. It comes a moment where everything explodes around and a chaotic major event happens, some change of rules, like it has happened before in history. There is no alternative, really? No. There is plenty of well-grounded hope. I see it in every hike. I feel it in every shared hour. It's the alternative what brings us here to London in this moment, in this presentation. It's a dialogue, bro. There is no methods. There is no a one throw, a recite, and there is no way that I can see to you. It is the way being here, the and sharing the ones with the other our thoughts. That is the praxis, and it is the theory also. It's a dialogue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So any questions for the dialogue? Yes, please, Mina?
Yeah, I was very much intrigued by your that graphic you showed between epistemological and ontological dimensions, that your y-axis was epistemological and x-axis was ontological. Bit further.
Yes.
That one. That's the one. And your diagonally was methodological variety. And my question, that's the one. Very much intrigued by that. And I just wanted to say that, how do you perceive the ontological complexity in terms of determining the responsibility and stewardship, in terms of focusing on we need who, because that's your central point, is it? Who should be, you started with the question of who should be responsible, right? Who can answer the questions? That was your starting point. And that gradient for me showing ontological complexity versus epistemological distance shows a difference between those who know and those who don't know. So who has the right, those who know, to answer the ethical dilemmas versus those who don't know, because that epistemological distance is getting wider and wider. And if epistemological distance means those, the who should answer, means those with the body of knowledge should answer, not those with not the body of knowledge, because that's what epistemology is all about. So I just wanted to ask you that question in reflection.
Well, I think that it is talking in the behalf of the authors, but I think that it depends on the way you open the fund, who starts to open the fund. In a certain degree, I think the who, the how, and the what have some kind of synergy, some kind of relation, and we can see who is a who until before determining if is a what or is a how. For example, an artificial intelligence is a how or is a who? Is realizing
who is producing the knowledge? That is the epistemological question, isn't it? Then. So in case of artificial intelligence, so the responsibility of producing that body of knowledge lies with who, not how.
Well, the responsibility is in the property of the artificial intelligence.
Sorry, come again.
In the ownership.
Yeah.
The owner of the artificial intelligence may say that it's the who, and the artificial intelligence is only the how.
Yeah.
But what happens when it's autonomous? When you have only put the money, or only you have put the workload, and are you the king to establish that this artificial intelligence will play with the fate of the nature? Well, I don't think so. Likely, the person who has created, the person who is the owner, the person who can avoid it, and the persons who allow that this evil is made in their behalf are all who. In the far extent that the artificial intelligence could learn from it, then it should be also a how. In this figure, I think that one of the things, I suppose that it is for the sake of simplicity and clarity, but I don't see up to my mind that everything is so geometrical. I agree with you. I think that some words can have a little parallax, like when you see a star. I don't think that we can do such a positive thinking on very abstract entities that, as I said before, we can see entirely, but it is a way of approaching to a topic that is greater than us, that we can embrace, but we must to make our best. And it is my try.
Yeah, I think this gradient is very helpful in terms of, particularly with the example that you used on artificial intelligence. That means the ownership, the how, and if artificial intelligence came to a point where rationality was taken into account, that the one who has produced artificial intelligence makes the object quite independent, and that object can itself think, and rationalize, then epistemological distance would become closer towards power and rule.
It is to the future to see, for example, some authors forecast agree at singularity in artificial intelligence. In this case, surely the how and the who will converge.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Perhaps what is happening is that the added value work gets stagnated in a deflationary economy world, and the benefits that could came from a more advanced artificial intelligence never result appealing for the people in power, and it never happens. It is difficult to say in this moment, but we can see that it is a possible scenario.
Well, it is a possible scenario. Well, yes.
In this case, in this specific presentation, I have supposed no great event will happen in the near future, and that we won't find a singularity, won't find, for example, finding alien life or alien technology thanks to the last discoveries in the background radiation that could allow us to interpret it and to gather message and signals coming from this unbelievable distance in the deep galaxy. Obviously could change the way we see it. Even we can in the end see ourselves as a what rather than a who.
Yes.
It is very fun to imagine, but
it's very good that you mentioned that when aliens comes and then we will become what, right? And it goes to my first on Suma's presentation on water, when I questioned her about value.
Define value.
When I asked her what is the value
for good or evil, scarce. Is up to us. We are the who when dealing with the difference in the political context. The difference in the political context creates an uncertainty, and we can see it like a risk, like a danger, or we can see it at value. Not only an ethical value, but something that could be desirable to learn, something that we learn to progress, or a thing that we can be complaining the whole day about, but we must to be aware. A who is always an awarded being. You can see a who when you are in coma. So you could be asked, who are you? Normally, you must to wish this little island of the self-determination, the good side, the bright side of the populism, your inner circle, your completeness, and your own place to be comfortable without harming no other person. And it is difficult to achieve because, for example, housing around the world is shifting in an Orwellian global market that is harming millions of people, that is creating an artificial nobility like the ones we see in the European Middle Age. is a extremely complex thing. We can go jumping from discipline to discipline like little squirrels, and we never end with this topic because
I agree, but it's just
Excuse me, Atanasio has said.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Atanasio's question. Atanasio is from Mozambique.
Yeah.
So his question is, this title of the report was, is there a universal ethical value for the environment? But Atanasio has come another question, and I think this also relates to the question we've just been discussing. Is there any universal understanding of what is meant by the environment? If yes, there might be universal ethical values related to the environment. But if there's no universal understanding of what is meant by the environment, it will be difficult to come to universal agreement related to universal ethical values meant for the environment. So is there a universal understanding of what the environment is? And I'd like to go on to link this discussion we just had. So, for example, if we are part of the environment, or if we are the environment, or we are in the environment, or some part, then how is, so even the worldview of our relationship to the environment, are we in the environment, or are we part of the environment, or are we detached from the environment? So this also links to this epistemological distinction. If we're getting further and further away from the environment, then how are our values? And if we are the environment, our values are therefore the environment values.
I personally don't think there's a difference in terms of epistemological pluralism because there are sets of understandings of what types of environment are. Of course you have, so that demonstrates that understanding of there are different types of environment. That is epistemological pluralism for me. That's body of knowledge. Types of environment is body of knowledge. That is.
But are you the environment?
I'm not the environment in myself, but I'm part of the environment, a particular kind of environment in a particular time.
Okay. So what about okay, so Manuel?
I think that we are and we are not environment. Depending, we can switch the position. For example, if I'm going to eat a lettuce or I'm going to eat a fish, I don't want to be the environment. I don't want to cannibalize myself. I don't want to do it. And I must not to be the environment in order to attain useful knowledge for life. But when it comes to the air, for example, we might be an environment if we are in a very narrow place, like a submarine. Then you must to accept that you are an environment, and you as environment could cause the death of another person consuming air. And usually we won't. We are not pinned like a nail in a position. We accept ourselves as a part of environment or as environment when it comes to ethical dilemmas that affects the biosphere, the planet, and the great scope. But when it comes to for example, I have a trampled over an ant. I wanna do it, but I will deal with it because in this case I can detract me from the environment in order to get calmed, in order to not be too empathic. Maybe the empathy driven to the extreme could lead who to become what perhaps is a way to blend the axis that the debris planted. And there is thankfully the human being is paradoxical and can be contradictory. For this reason, the euthanasia question and the replies both. We are and we are not part of the environment, and depending our needs. In the end, the need, the will to keep alive is a determinant. It is what we are. It is our compass. If anything is driving us to think about, I prefer to not be alive, or I prefer suicide, because I am environment and the environment is very polluted. We have seen Chernobyl, we have seen how sea has got dry, we have seen plenty of natural disaster provoked by the man, and the others provoked by the nature in the past. Well, I want to be an environment that is in this state. No, but you must to keep ahead with your life, because it is the more ethical position for you and for the others.
So let's think of two examples. These flowers were in an outside environment, growing with hope to last a few more days in nature. But now our flowers are inside and they change their environment to this room. This is an apple. You like apples?
Yes.
Good. Right now the environment of the apple is around here. It came from an apple tree, a different environment, and once I eat it, as I will after our presentation, its environment will now be my gut. And my gut will now have a new environment as well, but the apple is part of the environment in my gut, as well as the apple forming a new environment. So, and actually I'm made of apples, or sushi and apples, or whatever has constructed me, whether it be plants or animals. So this transformation and our linkage is very interesting, and I think that's why it's interesting to reflect on our values. The title of the book was Universalism and Ethical Values for the Environment. Why did we choose for the environment? Maybe Justin can reflect, because in the environment would be something as well, or of the environment, or about the environment, or do we have a universal environment and ethical values, which is about the question. So it's a very interesting question. But different cosmologies that we include in the repository of Worldviews of Nature have also different perspectives, I think, on that term, and it's interesting. So that's an interesting presentation. Any concluding comments on?
Well, thank you very much for your interesting question, for your presence, being here with me. Thanks to all the people that have participated actively, and well regards to the friends and classmates that have been following the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.